For 21 seasons, he was the calm, reassuring presence in workshops across America. The master carpenter, the patient teacher, the man whose quiet confidence and iconic plaid shirt made you believe that you, too, could build something beautiful and lasting with your own two hands. Norm Abram, the face of the new Yankee workshop, wasn't just a TV host. He was a mentor to millions. Week after week, he'd welcome us into his sanctuary of sawdust and steel, turning raw lumber into functional art, from elegant shaker tables to sturdy backyard gazebos. His philosophy was simple and profound. Measure twice, cut once. He taught a generation the value of craftsmanship, precision, and above all, safety. Then, in 2009, right at the peak of the show's popularity, he and the workshop just seemed to vanish. That familiar sound of the sliding door closing at the end of the episode suddenly felt final. There was no big farewell tour, no dramatic last episode, just silence. For the millions of loyal viewers who had built a weekly ritual around his show, the absence was jarring. This wasn't a cancellation in the usual sense. The show was still beloved, still pulling in viewers, and was fully funded. And it definitely wasn't a scandal that pulled him off the air. So, what really happened to Norm Abram? His quiet disappearance fueled years of speculation, with rumors of failing health and backstage drama whispered in online forums and woodworking communities. The truth behind his departure is a story about a choice, a deeply personal, incredibly human choice that all of us can understand. To understand why the silence was so deafening, you first have to appreciate the noise he made, a cultural impact that turned a humble carpenter into a national icon. Norm Abram's story doesn't start on a TV set, but in the sawdust-filled workshops of his childhood. Born in Rhode Island and raised in Massachusetts, Norm's path was paved with wood shavings from day one. His father was a carpenter, and Norm was his shadow. This wasn't just a hobby, it was his foundational education. He learned the trade not from books, but by doing, spending his weekends and summers working alongside his dad, building and remodeling homes. It's where he picked up the core principles that would define him on screen: a methodical pace, a common-sense approach, and a deep respect for the wood itself. Funnily enough, professional woodworking wasn't the original plan. He went off to the University of Massachusetts at Amherst to study mechanical engineering, which speaks to his natural understanding of how things fit together. But he found the theory unfulfilling and switched to business administration. That didn't quite click either. The pull of the workshop, the real tangible satisfaction of making something, was just too strong. Norm realized his true passion wasn't in boardrooms or just with blueprints, but with the hands-on work his father taught him. He left college before finishing his degree and went back to the world he knew best. After a few years supervising for a big New England construction firm, he took the leap in 1976 and started his own successful general contracting company. His break into television was pure serendipity. The creator of a new home renovation show, Russell Marash, had hired Norm to build a barn on his property. Marash was so blown away by Norm's skill and efficiency, famously noting he had the smallest scrap pile he'd ever seen, that he made an offer that would change TV history. He invited Norm to be the lead carpenter on a brand new series for WGBH Boston that would show the real, painstaking process of renovating a house. That show was This Old House. Premiering in 1979, it was an immediate hit. Norm's easygoing manner and absolute mastery of his craft connected with viewers. He wasn't an actor playing a part. He was the real deal, and people loved him for it. For 10 years, Norm was the go-to carpenter on This Old House, but Russell Marash saw the potential for even more. He noticed that Norm's segments, where he'd retreat to his workshop to build custom pieces for the houses, were a highlight for many viewers. And so the idea was born, a spin-off dedicated entirely to woodworking, hosted by Norm himself. In 1989, the new Yankee workshop opened its doors, and a TV genre was born. For 21 seasons, the show was a masterclass in making fine woodworking feel possible for everyone. Each episode often started with Norm visiting a museum to study a classic piece of furniture. Then he'd head back to the workshop and break the whole process down, turning complex joinery and intimidating designs into steps you could actually follow. He demystified the craft, proving that with the right tools, techniques, and a big emphasis on safety, anyone could build something to be proud of. He was the ultimate authority, a guru of the grain who built a legacy one perfectly cut board at a time. For 21 years, the new Yankee workshop was a constant. It was a reliable source of inspiration and quiet competence in a chaotic world. And then it just stopped. In October 2009, WGBH Boston announced that no new episodes would be produced. To the public, the end felt abrupt, like a door slammed shut with no explanation. Unlike shows that fade away because of bad ratings, the new Yankee workshop was still incredibly popular, a pillar of PBS programming, and by all accounts fully funded. It wasn't canceled, it just ended. This sudden void created a vacuum, and speculation rushed in to fill it. On internet forums and woodworking message boards, the question, "What happened to Norm Abram?" became a constant topic. Fans who had welcomed him into their homes for 2 decades felt a sense of loss. Why would such a successful and respected host walk away from a show that was still at the top of its game? The lack of a big, conclusive farewell episode only deepened the mystery, leading many to believe there had to be a more complicated, maybe even troubling reason for it all. The most persistent rumors were about Norm's health. In the show's later seasons, sharp-eyed viewers had noticed he had lost a significant amount of weight. While his energy on screen never wavered, the change was enough to spark concern. Whispers about a private battle with cancer or some other serious illness started to spread. These rumors came from a place of genuine care for a man who felt like a friend, but without any official word. That's all they were, rumors. The idea of a private health struggle seemed like a plausible reason for such a sudden retreat from public life. Other theories started to bubble up, too. In the high-pressure world of TV, burnout is a common story. People wondered if, after more than 2 decades of relentless production schedules for the new Yankee workshop, on top of his ongoing work on This Old House, the master carpenter had simply run out of steam. Had the joy of his craft been ground down by the pressure of creating, building, and filming a dozen complex projects year after year? Still others guessed there might have been friction behind the scenes. While Norm was the picture of calm TV production can be anything but. Was there a fight with producers? A falling out with the network over the show's direction? Had some unspoken drama gone down behind that iconic sliding door? These questions percolated through the fan community as they tried to solve a puzzle, with most of the pieces missing. The silence from Norm himself allowed these theories to grow, creating a mythology around his disappearance. The man who made everything look simple had left behind a mystery his audience was desperate to solve. In the years that followed, a few compelling but totally wrong theories rose to the top. The most widespread narrative was that of a secret health crisis, a tragedy that forced America's favorite carpenter to hang up his tools for good. This story came from a place of real concern. Viewers had noticed Norm's weight loss, and it's a natural human instinct to connect that with illness. The internet buzzed with talk of a cancer diagnosis or some other condition he was fighting in private. It was a narrative that painted him as a man forced into retirement. But as time has passed, it's become obvious this theory just doesn't hold up. There has never been a credible report or public statement confirming that a specific health crisis ended the show. The most consistent information points not to a tragic illness, but to a proactive choice to focus on his long-term health and well-being. The weight loss that worried so many fans was never officially linked to a dire diagnosis that forced him off the air. The truth is less about fighting a disease and more about a desire to preserve his health for the future. Norm wasn't taken down by a tragedy. He was choosing to take care of himself. The second big theory pointed to drama behind the curtain. It's easy to imagine a scenario where creative differences popped up between Norm and the producers or network executives. Maybe it was a fight over money, or the show's direction, or the punishing schedule. This version of the story suggested a crack in the calm facade of the workshop, but this too has been completely debunked by the people who were actually there. Both Norm Abram and the show's producers have made it clear that the show ended on the best of terms. There was no feud, no controversy, no dramatic exit. In fact, the respect between Norm and the production team was so deep that they made a critical decision. The new Yankee workshop was Norm Abram. They never even considered replacing him. Producer Russ Marash knew that any new host would face constant, unfair comparisons. So, out of respect for Norm's singular contribution, they chose to retire the show itself. It wasn't a messy breakup, it was a tribute. Finally, there was the burnout theory. This one was the closest to the truth, but it missed the key detail. The idea that Norm was just tired of woodworking never felt right because his passion for the craft was so obvious. To get it, you have to separate the craft from the career. It wasn't the woodworking he was tired of. It was the relentless, high-pressure cycle of making a TV show. After 21 seasons of The New Yankee Workshop and 30 years on, This Old House, the man had more than earned a break. The rumors of sickness and scandal tried to explain his departure with conflict or negativity. But the real story is much simpler, more positive and far more relatable. After years of speculation, the real reason for the end of The New Yankee Workshop is clear not from a shocking exposé, but from the quiet, consistent statements of Norm Abram himself. The truth isn't a scandal or a tragedy. It's a simple human story about priorities. Norm Abram chose to walk away. It was his call, made from a position of strength at the height of his show's success. As Norm put it himself, "We've had a great run, built challenging projects, met wonderful woodworkers, and received loyal support from millions of viewers." He later explained that the show was fully funded and could have kept going, but he felt he'd done everything he wanted to with the series and simply wanted to spend more time with his family. To really get his decision, you have to look past the polished 30-minute episodes and see the mountain of unseen work behind them. Being the host of The New Yankee Workshop was a grueling year-round job. For each of the 21 seasons, Norm had to dream up, design, and build around 13 new projects. The process started months before filming, with research and design. He had to create projects that were beautiful, functional, and, most importantly, teachable for a home audience. Once a project was designed, it had to be built, often more than once. There were prototypes to work out the kinks, and then the on-camera version had to be constructed, and woodworking for television is a whole different beast. Every single step has to be planned, blocked, and filmed from multiple angles. A joint that might take 10 minutes to cut in a real shop could take hours to film properly, with all the stops, starts, and explanations. Executive producer Russ Marash confirmed this, saying that compared to This Old House, The New Yankee Workshop was a lot of work, and I certainly respect his decision to step back. That intense schedule ran for over 2 decades. Add his ongoing role on This Old House on top of that, and it was a workload that left room for little else. The decision to step away was a choice to reclaim his own time. After decades of building for an audience, he wanted the freedom to build for himself, to explore personal projects, like his love of wooden boats, at his own pace. He wanted to actually enjoy the beautiful home he had built for himself. More than anything, the decision was about family. The closing shot of the early seasons often showed Norm heading home to his family. After 21 years, he just decided it was time to make that a permanent reality. He wanted more time with his wife and family, time that wasn't dictated by shooting. schedules, and project deadlines. In a world that often glorifies the hustle, Norm Abram made a powerful statement about what really matters. He wasn't running away from something. He was running towards something else, a quieter life that he had earned and ultimately chosen for himself. The end of the New Yankee Workshop. In 2009 wasn't the end of Norm Abram's career, and he certainly didn't become a recluse. He simply shifted his focus, building a life that let him continue his craft on his own terms. For many years after his own show wrapped, he remained a familiar face as the master carpenter on This Old House. The role was less all-consuming than running his own series, giving him the balance he was looking for. He continued to share his expertise until he officially announced his full retirement from television in 2022, after an incredible 43-year run. His retirement was marked with the kind of respect a legend deserves. A one-hour tribute special, The House That Norm Built, aired on PBS, celebrating his monumental career with classic moments and heartfelt tributes from colleagues and admirers. Today, Norm Abram is living the quiet life he chose. He lives in the classic colonial home he built in Massachusetts with his wife Elise, who is a talented potter. He has intentionally stepped back from the public eye, keeping no real social media presence and making few appearances. His time is now filled with his own passions. He and his wife enjoy cooking, visiting art galleries, and kayaking. And yes, of course, he still spends plenty of time in the workshop. He's mentioned setting up a new shop for himself, and occasionally getting the itch to maybe do another show, but only on his terms, from his own space. His passion for the craft has also found an outlet in giving back. He remains committed to preserving the skills he championed, serving on the board of trustees at Old Sturbridge Village, a living history museum. He's also been involved in training the next generation of tradespeople, even giving a commencement speech at the renowned North Bennett Street School in Boston. And for fans new and old, his classic episodes from the New Yankee Workshop have found a new life on YouTube, allowing his legacy to be discovered all over again. Norm Abram didn't vanish. He just went home, proving that the most important thing you can ever build is a life you love. We know so many of you have fond memories of watching Norm in his workshop. Maybe he even inspired you to start your own project. We'd love to read your stories, so please share them in the comments below. We're always digging into the real stories behind your favorite shows, so if you enjoyed this, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss what's next. The story of what happened to Norm Abram isn't one of scandal or tragedy. It's a quiet story of success. For 43 years, he was a pillar of American television who inspired millions to appreciate the value of doing things the right way. His influence is immeasurable, having sparked the creativity of a whole generation of woodworkers and DIYers. The tribute, The House That Norm Built, is a powerful testament to his legacy, a legacy now preserved online for the future. Norm Abram's departure from the New Yankee Workshop wasn't a fall from grace. It was a graceful exit, done his way. He secured his place in TV history and then chose to build a life of personal fulfillment, proving he is a master craftsman not only of wood, but of a life well lived.